How was Kenny born?
The fat kid, and there was always the poor kid.
I thought I could just give all my money away and be poor as your family.
Buried ways, Kenny has been shot and maimed.
Is killing children funny? Most people would say no.
Fucking bullshit.
When Kenny spoke, kid behind me went,
whoa. What Kenny says in the opening song to South.
We can't understand you.
Let's kill Kenny for good, and Butters will step in.
That's me.
Kenny McCormick was born on the 22nd of March and is one of the few characters on South Park who is immortal. Kenny first appeared in The Spirit of Christmas, a short created by Trey Parker and Matt Stone while at college. The short featured the boys awakening an evil snowman after placing a hat on his head. At least I think that's them. And strangely in the short, Cartman was the one that died. Maybe it was PC Principal and that snowman all along.
Are you purposefully trying to use words that assert your male privilege?
Oh God.
So I guess Kenny avoided death. Oh wait. The short was a huge hit, being shipped around all of Hollywood and becoming the first real viral video on cassette tape. This caught Comedy Central's attention, who agreed to pay Trey and Matt $8,000 if they created another, with the newly produced Christmas card having an upgraded look of the boys. This time around though, Kenny was the only character that died. But unfortunately, there was a lot worse to come, with 52 more agonizing deaths in his wake. The story behind Kenny is that while growing up, Trey had a friend that would wait at the bus stop with him.
Had the little orange coat. We couldn't understand him. We're like, we can't understand you.
With Park even stating maybe he should have changed the name for legal reasons. But I don't think any other name would have the same ring to it as Kenny. However, Kenny was the poor kid in Conifer, Colorado, who would rarely show up to school. That made the classmates start a running gag that he must have died. Trey implemented this into the show as thought was a fun idea to make their show stand out from the crowd, with one of the executives at Comedy Central questioning this and warned the duo he thought it was unnecessary. But they decided to go along with the idea anyway, which I'm guessing 5 seasons later they regretted, as they admit they ran out of ways to make Kenny meet an unfortunate end, and it ruined the progression of the episodes having to focus on it, with the creators abandoning the gag at the end of season 5. But that wasn't the only thing he was against. Trey Parker mentioned,
"It's a character who's a talking piece of poo. It's a talking poo, but he's got a sailor's hat." And they were just like, no.
I just wonder who would have done the voice if Trey Parker got sick of doing it.
I was a huge South Park fan.
Okay, problem solved. But to be honest, I think Kenny's deaths in the 90s and early 2000s was pretty iconic, and would be one of the first things that came to mind if someone mentioned South Park. So probably good they had the gag in the show momentarily, with Trey Parker's real life friend being turned into a fictional character. But one Reddit user claims he knows the real Kenny, and that Trey in fact used to bully him on the bus and he hated South Park. Which is understandable, as they wrote him as a sex-obsessed poor kid. And if this is true, I guess that's quite sad, with one Reddit user even asking if the guy had any stories of Trey and Kenny. His dad once found a stash of porn mags at his house on repeat occurrences, and confronted Trey and Kenny at separate occasions, who both denied it was theirs and blamed the other. I can understand why someone would not like their portrayal of Kenny, especially in the first few seasons and what the character was associated with. But I hope that's why they gave Kenny more of a badass story and made him a more empathetic character compared to the other boys due to the real guy he's based on. Maybe Trey later down the line realized it could be seen as cruel writing a poverty-stricken friend into the show and wanted to change his story to pay greater homage to the real Kenny. Why Kenny has an unfortunate life. Kenny does not have the best life, being the poorest kid in town, and has one classmate / friend that constantly berates him about his lack of wealth.
Dude, I don't think just poor and stupid people like NASCAR. Hey, Kitty! You love NASCAR, huh? You see, I told you guys!
Having an extremely high tolerance to the abuse Cartman shoves his way, maybe because it's nothing in comparison to what his actual living situation is like. Having alcoholic and drug-addicted parents constantly arguing in his rat-infested home. But Kenny makes the best out of his living situation as he can. He doesn't let his unfortunate life change him as a person, and has probably given some of the most heartfelt moments throughout the show. In the movie, he wishes everything could go back to the way it was after a huge deadly war breaks out between the US and Canada. After Satan grants him one wish, he does not use this wish to benefit him. He does what's morally right and puts others' lives before his, something Cartman definitely wouldn't do if he was in Kenny's shoes. But this isn't the only good deed Kenny has done. He's constantly being a protective brother and looking over his sister, with his #1 priority making sure she is happy, such as in this scene. He bought Adolfo with his paycheck he got from working, with his own father belittling him that he didn't make any money.
Well, did you make any money? Ha! Told ya!
But he secretly used the money to get something nice for his little sister. Instead of gloating in the fact to his father he did in fact get paid, he decided to keep it a secret. Make sure her happiness and safety is the first thing on his list, and even protected her from bullies with his alter ego Mysterion. Butters classifies Kenny as the only kid that's actually nice to him after he finally snaps in the episode Going Native, and Mr. Mackey even says to Kenny directly that he's a good kid.
You're a good kid, Kenny. I always thought so.
Which deep down he is. Even Officer Barbrady is a fan of Kenny.
Let's see, hotties, juicy, whoppers, okay, next.
I mean his choice of literature. I'm not saying Kenny is completely innocent and he's still done some messed up stuff, but I'm wondering if each time he dies he learns to be a better person. But luckily, Kenny is able to distract himself from his broken home life and hang out with his three friends Stan, Carl and Cartman. Sure, his adventures don't usually go as planned, but at least he has a means of escapism with the way his home life is. Maybe that's why Kenny turned out a good person overall, as he still has friends he can play video games with, watch movies and go to Casa Bonita and live like an 8 to 10 year old is supposed to, even if he is cursed, which I will get to later. Maybe the reason Kenny didn't become selfish and unempathetic like his parents, who put their lives before any of their kids, but this means their bad habits don't rub off on him. His parents look for stimulants to make life more bearable without thinking of the damage they are bringing into the family life. Sure, Kenny had moments dabbling with drugs, but he manages to break the cycle when he sees the effect it's causing to others around him, or at least tries to, which his parents don't possess, showing that Kenny is far more mature than the people that raise him. Why did Kenny die permanently? One of the main things that made South Park an iconic show in the late 90s was its very unconventional approach of having one character die every episode and reappear in the next like nothing happened. Trey Parker even states,
Probably the most popular thing of that first year was killing Kenny.
Kenny has died in the most gruesome and unlucky ways throughout the series, especially during the early days from series 1 to 5, until the creators finally decided to call it quits and kill Kenny off for good. The reason being, Trey and Matt were exhausted thinking of new ways to kill Kenny each week, as it completely ruined the pacing of the show having to incorporate him dying.
Really started to become a pain in the butt because we would get the whole episode written and then we would just animate the end of the show without, think of how he died. So we just decided, let's just not kill him anymore.
Which resulted in them erasing Kenny from the show in the penultimate episode of season 5, Kenny Dies. This was the first real episode to show the boys actually caring about Kenny's death, and the whole episode in general had a much more serious tone. With Stan not being able to come to terms with seeing his friend slowly dying on a life support machine, and Kyle trying to be strong for his friend and stay by his side, rather than it being an everyday occurrence that they didn't care about.
Oh my god, we killed Kenny. We killed Kenny? We killed Kenny, we're bastards.
This time, they were really experiencing how any kid their age would act to the loss of a friend. But originally, the creators brainstormed at the same time to kill off Kyle instead, as they believed he and Stan's characters were too similar.
The idea was we were going to kill Kyle, remember? Because we were
That's
going to
right.
make it a big thing and we'll kill Kyle and Butters will step in. Because this was around the time we were really starting to like Butters as a character.
But they dropped this idea and killed Kenny off for good, as he became too much of a prop character with no defining characteristics at this point in the show. Season 6 was the first series to not feature Kenny, and had stories focused a lot more on Butters. But this change would not be permanent, due to the backlash from fans on how Matt and Trey could kill off such a well-loved character. It wasn't long till Kenny found his way back into the show in quite an unconventional way, with Cartman drinking Kenny's ashes after mistaking it for chocolate milk mix, and his spirit being trapped inside Cartman's body.
Just drank his memories. I'm not sharing my body with that poor piece of crap. Stop calling me poor, you fat dick!
But luckily for fans, Kenny would return for good in the final episode of season 6, just randomly appearing like nothing happened, with Stan even asking Kenny where he's been, with him responding, "I was over there." I'm glad they decided to keep Kenny, but just drop the gag of him dying. It was a smart decision from the creators, as once the initial novelty had gone about his character being killed, they wasted a lot of time they could have used in that 22-minute runtime to tell a more coherent story. With Kenny barely dying in the show now 26 years later, after the episode Kenny Dies first aired. Kenny's mysterious secret. Mysterion is the secret identity of Kenny, which is revealed in the episode Mysterion Rises. During the episode, we discover that Kenny has the power of immortality due to his alcoholic parents who joined the cult of Cthulhu.
What is the cult of Cthulhu?
No, we weren't in that stupid group. They just used to offer free beer at their meetings, so we would go.
With them being involved, it means Kenny is consistently reborn and grows to his current age every time he dies. No matter how many times he perishes in unexpected ways, he always wakes up in his bed like nothing happened, with no one around him being able to remember except for him and his parents. While playing superheroes, Kenny finally reveals this to his friends in the disguise of Mysterion.
I can't die. I think it'd be pretty cool not to be able to die. Pretty cool? Do you know what it feels like to be stabbed? To be shot? Decapitated? Torn apart? Burned?
To which Stan says,
I think we would remember you dying, dude.
resulting in Mysterion getting overwhelmed and frustrated that they don't remember, and even tries something drastic like killing himself on the
For
spot.
this time, try and remember. Oh my god!
This explains the reason Kenny has died throughout the series and seemingly returns in the next episode like nothing happened, because he is immortal due to his parents' bad decision, which plagues Kenny with a very dark and unfortunate life of relentless torture. Kenny's big face reveal. Throughout the show's run, Kenny has very rarely been seen without a hood, but when the creators do decide to do this, it's not even completely apparent that it is the character Kenny, showing up in the background in numerous episodes throughout the series with some type of disguise or being shielded by another character. Eagle-eyed fans have been able to spot Kenny, unhooded through various episodes, but in the very rare instances, we do sometimes get actual speaking roles from Kenny too, most notably in the film, with one of the final scenes of the movie ending on a big reveal. The audience was finally treated to a look of Kenny without his orange hood.
Goodbye, you guys.
Which I believe the creators decided to do as the movie was originally going to be the end of South Park.
Articles being written of like, can you believe South Park's making a movie? Like that show's already done and now and who's going to go see that movie? Nobody. We were just like, let's just do the biggest F you.
But due to the overwhelming positive response from the film, it brought a completely new life into the show, made it more popular than ever. I think what makes this moment even more special now is still to this day, this is Kenny's first speaking role, with no other disguise covering or distorting his face. He has appeared in small speaking roles throughout the show's series since, including Meet the Jeffersons,
Alright, but you guys owe me for this. Dude, whatever, at least you finally get to do something.
and A Nightmare on FaceTime. But it's always covered by something, be it a mask, a voice changer, or even bedrobes. Despite Kenny's character always being muffled, his lines are actually in the script. You can make them out if you listen carefully. His quote in the opening titles rivaling that of the great Oscar Wilde. How Kenny found a new life. Since season 6, Kenny has had a significant reduction in the number of times he dies, rarely dying if at all. Kenny has evolved a lot ever since they dropped the running gag of him dying and is no longer a prop, and even being able to have more heartfelt stories focused on the character, such as the poor kid and the city part of town, which I think every show needs. We've watched these characters for over 20 years now, and it's a nice change of pace to the show when you see someone in the town do something nice for one another, be it Stan getting his grandpa a framed picture of his dog.
There she is. All patches. Thank you, Billy.
Or Kyle having better understanding of his little brother.
It's okay. Things get to you. It's who you are.
As sure, I love the absurdness of South Park, but I also enjoy those rare touching moments that catch you off guard. Maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for shows like Scrubs and Ted Lasso. I know it's just a cartoon, but I'll be damned if you didn't show any hint of emotion with Fry's dog. Cartoons can make you feel the same way as any other movie or show when it's utilized in the story right, as you've still come to know and care for these funny drawings. This is why I think Kenny is a personality which is needed in South Park. He was a character that paved the way for other characters to develop empathy too. As before him and even Butters, everyone in South Park was just too selfish. But by having someone in the show like Kenny, it's made the creators more comfortable to make other members of the cast more human too, even Randy.
Because I'm unhappy, okay?
Glad the creators didn't kill him off permanently and found a new way to make Kenny more significant. He has changed for the better since being resurrected into the series, but there are certainly limitations on Kenny compared to others, as you can't understand him and his face is always hidden. But with these hindrances, I think the creators have still managed to develop Kenny's personality quite significantly. I think one of the reasons Kenny is so quiet and doesn't speak much is because he listens. That's his personality trait. Instead of making a situation about him, he wants to make sure the other person is okay first, before his well-being. Sort of acting as a therapist to his other friends or even a counselor, like Mr. Mackey said.
You might even make a good counselor someday.
I'm not saying this is what I think Kenny was from day one, but from the way the series has progressed over the years, dramatic contrast to Kenny from the early days, it's sort of a happy ending for the kid. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Consider subscribing if enjoying the content, and until next time, thanks for watching.